Hi guys, welcome to another video and welcome to another gorgeous day in northeast England. So for today's video I've come to Newcastle upon Tyne. I'm currently in the Eusebourne area of the city. I'm just heading down towards the quayside and I'm going to be taking a few shots with a very much underrated micro four thirds lens. Now I'm not entirely sure why this lens is so underrated. I'm not even sure if it's underrated, I'm not sure if it's just more overlooked. But the reality is this lens is generally considered to be a PanaLeica lens. So that's a lens that was developed between Panasonic and Leica in combination, in collaboration even. So this lens is generally considered to 99% be a PanaLeica lens, but without the PanaLeica price tag. And I'm intrigued to see how it performs on my little Pen F on a short walk around the city. Now, as ever, this is not going to be a gear review as such. This is just going to be me out on a photo shoot, take some photos and taking you guys along with me. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to attach the GoPro to myself so you can get a point of view as such of the actual walk and the photos I take, and I'll catch up with you at certain points throughout the walk and discuss what the lens is and how it's performing and whether I would recommend it. Right, so I'm all strapped up, ready to go. Hopefully you can see the camera okay. Now look at the lens itself. Can you see the design of it? That's suspiciously looks like a PanaLeica lens to me. But of course, looks can be very deceptive, and it doesn't matter how good it looks if it doesn't produce the results. So let's see how we get on. It's a 15mm lens, so it is quite wide. Now, as I say, it's 15mm lens, so that's what, 30mm full frame equivalent. Look at the size of it on the Pen F. You know, it's a beautifully compact lens. f1.7, I believe. Now, there's a lot to be said for anything between the 28 to 35mm mark, really, because that is a classic documentary photography focal length. Right, there might be a shot here. Bit of Geordie pride for you. I'm going to try and get the other boat behind. I say I'm shooting at f4.5, which I think is perfectly adequate depth of field for this kind of shot. I do like this part of town. It's definitely got a very different feel to the rest of the city. Just wondering if there's a shot here. I'm not sure you can see what the viewfinder keeps doing there. It's really annoying. Quite like the light here. So have a look, see if there's anything. No, I don't think so. I think sometimes it's important to know when not to take a photo, because that is a good sure way of improving. Because if you decide not to take shots because you know they're not going to work, then you don't go for that stage of importing them onto your computer and feeling demoralised because you've taken loads of rubbish photos because you're cold before you actually press the button, press the shutter release. So yeah, tip of the day. Quite like the light here, so I'm going to see if I can do something with the sort of change. Of course, there's always a bit of a trade-off when you're out with only one prime lens, because you've only got one focal length, and you have it has pros and cons, you know. The obvious con being that you've only got one focal length, so you have no options. and the pro being that you've only got one focal length, so you have no options, so you have to work with what you've got. As stupid as it sounds. I've personally always favoured using 35mm equivalent to 28 or 30mm, so for me this little lens is a touch wide. But for some really random reason I was having problems with focusing points, and I still am. Strange, strange, strange. I quite like this shot, simply, and it's going to sound really strange, I like the blue cherry picker. I think they're called them cherry pickers. It's going up the side of the building. It adds a nice splash of colour to the scene. Some great buildings around in the Ousburn. Actually, I really like this one. I like that the light coming down the side. I'm trying to get a bit more height to try and keep everything a bit straight. Because basically, the higher I get, the less I have to point the camera up like this. So that reduces converging verticals. What we're trying to do is we're trying to keep the plane of focus on the camera level with the subject. Because as soon as you start doing that or that, you start to get real perspective distortion. So really, as a general tip, if you want to try and photograph buildings, try and keep your camera as level as possible. And that's why you have shift lenses which move the front up and down. Now we'll talk about that in another video. It's a shame, it would have been nice to get the bikes coming past there. Got the normal northeast wind. Now what I'm trying to do here, I'm not sure where you can see it, but we've got the bridge over there. So they've got the nice bridges, the nice quayside, and we've got this graffiti on this, whatever this is, so I'm going to try and combine the two, I suppose is a way of putting it. Now just in case you're wondering why I've got this big, huge bag on my back, because let's face it, I don't need it for a Pen F and a single 50mm lens and a GoPro, do I? Well, it's because I'm actually in Newcastle doing a property photography job, and I'm just going to show you where I'm actually photographing. Not sure where you can see over there, but you see these nice new apartment blocks there? Nice swanky looking. Well, that's my job for today. So, I've got my GFX with me, wide angle lenses, all that sort of stuff. And I say it's a proper job. That's why I've got my hoodie on, not because I'm vain and I'm trying to make sure you all remember my name. Simply so I look professional. So the lens I'm using actually came with my DJI Inspire 2 drone. So it's a drone lens, essentially. Although it's not, because it all gets a little bit complicated, because basically if you've got a bigger DJI drone you can use micro four thirds lenses on it, but you can't use all of them. And DJI do make some of their own lenses, although they don't make them because actually they're manufactured by other people. And interestingly, DJI have connections with Panasonic and Leica. Hence why it is highly probable that the DJI 15mm 1.7 prime is actually a PanaLeica 15mm 1.7 prime, which, funny enough, weighs exactly the same, looks exactly the same. I suspect the image quality is virtually the same. I think really, if there's any difference, it's going to be down to the coatings on the front of the lens. But apart from that, it is pretty much like for like an identical lens, with the difference being that I believe the PanaLeica second hand is around £400, £450, and you can pick up a DJI 15mm 1.7 for about £150 to £175. So what's that? Roughly a third of the price, third to half of the price. Which, let's face it, if they're identical lenses, is it worthwhile paying that extra money, just that PanaLeica badge? Well, I hope you enjoyed those photos, guys. Now let's talk about this lens. As you can see, nice and small. It is everything you'd want with a Micro Four Thirds lens. And I think, as I discussed when I was talking about when I bought the Pen F, for me, the little primes are what Micro Four Thirds is all about. It's about a nice compact small system. Now this lens, 15mm, 30mm equivalent, 1.7, sharp as anything. Absolute pleasure to use. My main criticism, I'm going to come a little bit closer just to show you. My main criticism is the aperture ring here, because it only works on Panasonic bodies, which is surprisingly suspicious, isn't it, for a lens made for a drone that it has an aperture ring that will only work on a Panasonic body. You know, very similar to the PanaLeica, let's face it. So yeah, what this means is it looks the part, but it does absolutely nothing. So I'm having to use just a control ring on the Pen F. But you know what? It looks great. It's small. It's light. It's a pleasure to use. It's got a decent hood. I suspect having coatings designed for a drone, so it's up in the air, got a lot of light hitting off it. It seems to be quite good flare resistance. I can't say how it compares to the PanaLeica one, because I've never used the PanaLeica, but you know, I have absolutely no complaints. So I have no complaints to the lens, I have no complaints to the size, the image quality, performance, and definitely the price. It's definitely good bang for buck. So yeah, if you're in the market for a 15mm PanaLeica, so a 30mm full frame equivalent, I would seriously consider getting the DJI 15mm, because I think it's identical. Anyway guys, on that note, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please give it a thumbs up, maybe subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and I'll see you again soon for another one. Thanks for watching.